Well, I wake up to a beautiful day. I pour a cup of coffee, then I'm on my way. My warm bed begs me to stay, but I got to get to work before I'm late. Yeah, I wake up to a beautiful day, smiling with the sun and it smiles back at me. Like, damn, it feels good to be free, 'cause living this life is living the dream. Yeah. Floating through my neighborhood, everybody's feeling good. Trees are swaying like they're waving at us, and over there are the people on the bus are laughing. On the way to a parade, I saw a man sitting on the curb looking sad. Sat down and talked to him for a while till he laughed. Well, it's moments like that, you won't get them back, so you better make them last. 'Cause in a beautiful place with so much tragedy, you think something should be so different. And if that we are a witness, I don't know how much longer we can take this. Can't keep on sleeping, so I wake up to a beautiful day. I pour a cup of coffee, then I'm on my way. My warm bed begs me to stay, but I got to get to work before I'm late. Yeah, I wake up to a beautiful day, smiling with the sun and it smiles back at me. Like, damn, it feels good to be free, 'cause living this life is living the dream. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. Kyle, Rising, Sensi Trailz. What's up, brother? Great to see you, man.
What's up? Thanks for having me on today, folks.
I'm a huge fan of Sensi Trailz, and I thought we were going to get in the whole experience, but you could be a solo artist now, you realize, right?
He is.
Yeah?
He is.
So
he's Justin Timberlake.
You really are. So how have you been handling the whole COVID thing, man?
Oh, man, you know, just doing the best I can, hanging in there.
Yeah, because live music stopped. Live music quit, right?
That's right,
so, so you just have to do what you got. Are you doing any live stream stuff, or?
Yeah, I haven't done as much recently, but yeah, when it first started, the live streams were just rolling.
Yeah.
And they kind of seem to phase out a little bit. You know, I think everybody's really eager to get back out on the road. I know I am.
Well, you know what, Sully?
What's that?
I always remember, I think it was about 2 months ago, they were all on a street, I think in PB, and they all stared at their phone, and they celebrated because one of their videos on YouTube hit 1 million views.
Wow, how do you do that? That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Never expected it. I really did not expect that.
Good for you.
It's just climbing and
did
climbing.
Did you put it out there, or just happen, or did you advertise it, or how'd it go?
We put it out there through the video kitchen, and it just kind of took off.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to find you?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes.
And your handle is Sensi Trailz?
Yeah, at Sensi Trailz Music on Instagram.
At Sensi Trailz. You gonna be with us all day today?
That's right.
For the show? There you go. By the way, can I just ask you something? Where's Russ T Nailz?
I don't know.
Because we have a huge show today. We've got
Chris Cantore.
Exactly
I can't believe it.
We got Ted Garcia.
Well, where is?
So where's Russ?
Nailz, where are you?
I don't know. Hey, how are you? Mark Mathis here. Russ is stuck on the 5. He's in Rancho, San Diego. He says he won't be here, so I guess I'll have to fill in for him here in KUSI. Okay, yeah, don't worry about it, Russ. We got it covered. Oh, my God. Hello, fellas. Keep your 6 feet apart.
How you doing?
I'm good. Partly cloudy. A little gray. Oh, my gosh. So what is this on the air? I'm glad I stopped in. Listen, I'd love to stay.
Careful.
Right on. Just keep doing what you're doing. Whatever that is. And I'll be back in a minute. Listen, I got to go back here for a second, but start the show. I'll try to find Russ. Thanks.
Show started, bud. So listen, 2 things. First of all, Ted Garcia is with us today from the San Diego Morning News on News Radio 600 KOGO. I work with Ted every single day of my life, and haven't seen Ted nor LaDonna in 6 months because of COVID. We were in the same studio together for I can't tell you how long, and then suddenly I don't get to see the guy anymore. And then, of course, Chris Cantore, who legend in San Diego radio.
Oh, yeah. He never gives up. He never gives up.
He was the 91X guy. I remember in 1998, I believe, when I first heard him.
Bagel Boy.
Yes, and yeah. And he had such a great following, and continues to do so. He was one of the guys that taught us about social media on Big Biz Show.
He's still doing it.
And he's a social media guru. He's also one of the guys that pushed forward local music with respect to everything from street scene to local music venues on 91X. Of course, he ended up at 100.7, where you played for a while, or where you were.
I don't know if you know this, but he was actually at Q106. He was on the Jeff and Jerry show for about 2 years.
He was on the show.
He was on the Jeff and Jerry show.
So what, did he have he was a character on the show?
You know, he spoke, but he always fed us. Some
Oh,
great
look, who's
lines.
here finally, Rusty Nailz.
Had car troubles on the 5, I believe it was. What's going on? Who's our guest, Tommy?
Are you
Bobby?
You're not buttoned up.
I'm not buttoned up yet. We're starting in a minute. Okay,
We got
let's go
Ted
with the 15.
Garcia.
We're
We got
starting.
Ted Garcia from Kogo.
The news guy?
We got Chris Cantore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So speaking,
we've got history.
So speaking of Chris Cantore at 91X, my first year in broadcasting, I got to do a live remote, meaning that we went out. You set up the thing, and you're out there with wherever.
Yeah.
Aztec game, Charger game.
The new Krispy Kreme.
I got the new Krispy. Yeah, you were there.
I was there.
Russ and I opened the new Krispy Kreme one morning. I don't know why they had us on a live remote. I got to go do a live remote from Street Scene.
Wow.
I was a 3 to 6 on a Friday.
In which
on
year were
AM
you?
11:30. I'm going to call it 98, 99.
Yeah, 'cause I think-
it's got to be one of those. Whenever it could have been 97.
That's one of the best street scene. I think it was one of the first big music things. It happened when nobody wanted to go downtown. You had a couple of bars, some tattoo places,
and a lot of places to park, by the way. So
empty lots.
so on that subject,
Yeah.
I asked Tommy to pull out his black book. And let me just, you mind if I make a quick phone call here? Real fast?
quick phone call.
Let me just hear and let me just punch it in.
462.
The fingers you have used to dial are too fat.
Yeah.
To obtain a special dialing wand, please mash the keypad with your palm now.
Come on, Brutus.
forget
I'll
it.
dial it for you there.
In reality,
Yeah.
the control room has a very special guest. One of my favorite guys in the world. One of the guys that encouraged my band and my music, and a guy that actually booked us to play that poster on the wall there. And his name is. You want to introduce him?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Rob HAGEY.
Rob HAGEY, founder of Street Scene. Rob, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Oh, my
Wow,
goodness.
there it is.
Boy, do I miss you, and boy, do I miss Street Scene, man.
Well, we all miss it. I loved producing it and promoting it and booking it and everything that was involved with it.
This year you would have been sidelined, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would.
Boy, the business right now is it's such a heartache to see it from the distance.
Yeah.
What was the first year of
80,
Street Scene?
84.
It was 84.
Wow.
19. Oh, so you were.
I was right in the middle with the
No
Blasters and the Beat Farmers and who else was
Oh
in-
yeah, the Beat Farmers were a really important band for us.
I remember seeing Carl Strauss introduce, acts.
Well, James Brown was there one year.
Everyone
I mean,
was there.
honestly,
Oh.
I mean, it was Kaboo before Kaboo. I mean, it really was, Rob. And it was such a heritage brand, and you got to be really proud of that, sir.
Well, I am. We did it 25 years. We started in 84 and ended in 2009. And then when Kaboo started to do their first festival, I mean, I think that there was probably about 70% of their band that had played Street Scene. So
I got a real quick question, Rob. Now that it's been a couple years since it hasn't been around, can you just tell us one salary? Like, how much did you pay one act?
Yeah.
Like, how much did you?
Yeah, what was
how
the
much
biggest
did
check you wrote?
What did you pay? Fergie. Like, how much did you pay James Brown? Can you now?
Ika Mouse.
well, I paid Tool. They were the highest paid act that I worked with, and I'm trying to think of how much that was, but it was over $500,000
Wow. For one concert. My
Wow.
for one
Of
act.
course. Hey, Rob, thank you so much for your time. Rob HAGEY, Street Scene. I hope you come back, buddy. I hope you get. He's actually been in the recording studio when I've been recording, and he's just a music lover. That's how he got into it.
And there was a lot to love. We had like 70 plus bands. You go around the corner and there's reggae, go back over here. There's Zydeco, you go down there, there's rock. Steppenwolf, I sat there and watched him.
Didn't your son do an interview with Sugar Ray at one
Yeah,
point?
he wanted to be a musician, and I was lucky enough to get him, sneak him in. I think he was 10. And Mark McGrath, is that his name?
Yeah,
The
the
lead
guy from
singer.
Sugar Ray.
Nicest guy in the world turned out to be. And Tyler, who's been on our show, playing electric music, our first little electric star up there. He did interview.
There he is.
Sugar Ray. There's
There he is.
Sugar Ray.
I'm his dad. It's Tyler. Mark. Nice to meet you. How you doing, Tyler? Pleasure, man. What's happening?
Hi.
My
am the guitar player in Sugar Ray.
How are you?
How's it going? I'm doing good. My name is Murphy, and I play bass in the band.
And you know that guy?
Yeah, I know you.
Tyler, I like your hat, bro.
So what inspired you to get into music, you guys?
For me, other bands that I loved when I was a kid, like Kiss, for instance. Oh, yeah.
Because I thought guys in bands could get chicks.
Tyler, what are some bands right now that you like?
You guys.
Okay, but how about another band?
I like REM.
REM, so like, you see REM and you're like, God, I'd really like to do that.
Well,
I'd
I'll
love
tell
to be
you,
a songwriter or
and the
something
thing
like
is that Tyler goes up to, Tyler did our music for us. Speaking of music, let's get our first guest going because we got a good buddy.
Ties in with some music.
Chris Cantore.
Ladies and gentlemen, I remember hearing Chris Cantore on the radio a very long time ago as the Bagel Boy.
What?
And I remember Chris Cantore probably on every single frequency there is in San Diego.
And look who's here.
This guy never gives up. Ladies and gentlemen, a radio veteran at its finest.
My goodness, have a seat.
Hey. What's up? I'll lower it for you. I'll stay. We're apart enough. I'm good.
Chris Cantore is a legend in San Diego.
I don't know if do you need me like right on this mic or I'm good here?
You can use mine too. We're good.
No, I'm cool. You know how it's a family show, right?
First of all,
Yeah.
you're not only a radio guy.
I'm not a radio guy.
No, you're not only a radio guy. You're a social media guy.
Correct.
I mean, you even helped us with social media on Big Biz Show.
Yeah, in the early days, before when people were just learning about the internet.
Yeah.
When I lost a radio job, one of my many early on.
As we all have.
During the recession, actually, back in 2008 is when I first threw myself into podcasting and digital media because I realized that that was the area that was growing. And not only that, it was also an area that gave me the same excitement that I had when I first got into radio. Like we all remember what it was like when we first got in and the excitement and those butterflies and you'll do it for nothing. That's kind of that's the place that I've been in actually for the last 13 years in digital media.
Where did you
doing
start,
it for nothing.
Chris? Where was the first place you're on the radio?
KFMB.
KFMB here in
Yeah.
Bagel Boy.
Bagel Boy, yeah.
Yes. What was the morning show?
Sean and Donna, they were two women that were on the air together, and they had just launched Star 100.7 at the time. I was just out of San Diego State looking for any job in media, and the only person that called me back was the HR director at KFMB, and they gave me a $5 an hour job answering the phones for the morning show. And that's kind of where it all started. And I would do like prank calls because I was the one on the phones, kind of like what Tommy did. Tommy was always used as a point of reference when I entered the building. Everybody talked about Jeff and Jer and Tommy, and those were their phones, and they're bored.
Don't touch their bathroom.
And what's funny is,
I got the
wait.
and what's funny is, what's hilarious is though, at this point, I'm just out of college, had been in San Diego for 5 years.
Yeah.
I had never heard of Jeff and Jer. So they're gonna be telling you like, oh, Jeff, I'm like, who the hell? Never heard of Jeff and Jer, DSC. Who's listening to morning radio when you're in college?
Well, what's interesting is
you're sleeping. Exactly.
My first dip into you, I think, was you did the morning show at 91X, right?
Yeah, after my tenure at KFMB, I went and worked with Jeff and Jer for a year.
What year was that?
That was what, 2000 or 1996?
I was at Q106, so it was somewhere between 93 and 97.
Yeah. 97. I went to work with Jeff and Jer for a year. They went to Star. I didn't go along for the ride, so I had to find myself a job. And I lied to the management at 91X and said that Jeff and Jer wanted to take me to this new station, but my loyalty was with the company, and I wanted to stay with J-Core.
You're good.
And they're like, and that's what they said. They're like, oh, you're a company. We want you.
Sure.
Howard Stern happens to be moving off of 91X, going over to the rock outfit.
That's who came in to
Boom.
replace
When
me.
you got blown out.
Did you get replaced by him?
No, by Howard Stern.
By Howard.
Howard Stern.
Yeah, there was a time I actually called Russ trying to get in with him, and he's like, dude, I'm on my way out.
Just because the trees are always
It's just it's radio.
So much to
Stay right there.
There's so much to find out.
You got Sensi Trails here. Come on.
Come on.
Next royalty right here. All right, coming back in a second. On here, Chris Cantore, Sensi Trails, Rusty, Sully, Little Tommy. Stand by.
So you gotta wake up. You gotta wake up. So I wake up to a beautiful day. I pour a cup of coffee, then I'm on my way. My warm bed begs me to stay, but I got to get to work before I'm late. Yeah, I wake up to a beautiful day, smiling with the sun and it smiles back at me. Like damn, it feels good to be free.
Hockey sticks out there. 102, 104, 104, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 108.
You gotta put your hands in the pockets.
Is that what it is?
And then you gotta put the clicker in this.
I gotta get one of these in there. It's on.
Are you selling something?
I am. It sounds like I'm a bidder. Hi! I gotta get the hit thing going.
Oh my
God. So there you have it.
Can you tell me in which direction the monsoon moisture comes from?
Monsoon moisture comes right out of the south. In the little body, and I think we're doing good.
You're gonna say the monsoon comes from the Pacific, which is totally wrong.
No, it doesn't. It comes from California.
You actually look like Mark Mathis.
No, you're kidding me. What chance of monsoon moisture coming right into your life? Okay, USA.
What is your purpose? We're all searching. Sort of what's the meaning of this life? What is your purpose? We're all searching. Sort of what's the meaning of this life? Wake up, open your
Sully,
eyes. It's time to
Tommy
realize
Russ T
you have a
Nailz,
purpose
man.
in this life.
Radio veteran Chris Cantore.
There we go.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you, everybody.
So you were a real proponent of local music for a long time. You're one of the first guys.
Still is.
I mean, but I'm talking about. But
but
you were one of the first guys to really push local music. I mean, I know Tim Piles also.
Yeah.
But you were a guy I remember where I would hear bands that there'd be no way I would have ever heard them before.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
What got you into that?
I just have always been a big supporter of the community and the arts and being somebody I've worked around bands. My friends are all in bands and have been in bands. And then in college at San Diego State, I worked for the Associated Students Cultural Arts Board and would bring, it sounds lofty.
Did you bring in the comedians and the entertainers? And
Violent Femmes, Henry Rollins, Smashing Pumpkins, Beastie Boys. I brought all those bands on campus before I got into radio.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't the one promoting or producing the shows. I was called a runner. So I was a guy doing like the Smashing Pumpkins laundry or the Beasties, taking the Beastie Boys out
bagels or something
for camera equipment in North Park. That's a true story.
Which probably why you leaned a little more towards a 91X choice over a KFMB.
It was always my, I remember working at KFMB, coming in listening to 9 Inch Nails, and there was this guy, Greg Sims. Remember Greg Sims? He literally told me it was the devil's music.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, woo, okay, let's roll. Where's my mic?
All right, let me ask you this, Chris, because I've followed your career since you were Bagel Boy to now.
Yeah.
And, every time I read the trade saying, wow, they let him go.
Yeah.
Wow, they let him go. Then all of a sudden, you're back up again. And you're on the air again. Or you're doing something like you are today with podcasts. Where does that come from? Because more and more people in that situation would have took a real estate job or doing something else.
That's a good point, man.
But you didn't. Where does that come from?
Not being afraid to fail.
All right.
I can honestly, I'm more afraid of success than I am of failure. I'm not afraid to fall on my face.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to do something stupid. I could be asked to do a sports show on a local sports station, know nothing about sports. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's try it.
Other than I can fly a helicopter, those things will say.
Well, I won't do that.
But I can tell you.
And it failed.
Because you and I have talked out there a number of times about business, and you are an entrepreneur. You are as much of as a radio guy as an entrepreneur, because you always have an idea that is going to be, I hate to use the word cutting edge because that was the rock of the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. But it is, you are face forward. You've been tip of the spear a number of times with respect to digital media, social media.
I don't like looking back.
But
looking back makes me depressed.
But it's also how you learned the way people consumed media a long time ago went differently than just terrestrial broadcasting.
And anticipating trends. I was always into anticipating trends, whether it was a clothing trend, a music trend, it's all related. So now it's a technology trend.
I love that insight into the future that you seem to have. And that's why I invited you to work on another program with me that we tried to get off the ground. And
still can.
Know,
it's never too late, buddy.
Well, let's talk about that. Speaking of the future, what are you doing? Talk about what you're up to and talk about how people can hear you and so on and so forth.
Yeah, right now I've just really doubled down on, as you mentioned, podcasting, because it's something that I've been into since 2008.
Yeah.
And now audio, there's so much value in audio when you look at Rogan and his Spotify deal, 100 million.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be lying if I don't use stuff like that as inspiration.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, I'm starting my own podcast network. We're onboarding shows, we're producing shows. I'm producing my own show, the Cantore Show. I've got an action sports show called the Monday Mass. I've got another surf show called the Bodega Border Crew. We're bringing on a tattoo show.
Wow.
Other shows in other areas, all niche, but all lifestyle oriented.
Do you help those guys cut their chops?
Yeah, all of it. Produce their shows, produce the audio. We help them get it monetized because it all falls under the same network, and then you can kind of spread the advertisers across. Which show do you want to be on? You know, and it's just kind of an a la carte thing.
So 25 years ago, you were Chris Cantore, the funny dude, the crazy dude in a green Jeep Wrangler.
Right.
Today, now you're a dad, right? Like, tell us about that. How did that happen for you? Because all of a sudden I see posts. All of a sudden I see posts on social media. You're a proud father.
No, I love my kids more than anything in life. I live for my kids. I'm doing this all for my kids. I want to have something to pass on to them. If I can, that's where the entrepreneurial thing comes into place. Because you can't, when you're a radio personality, it's not like you can pass on yourself. Like, you know, once I'm gone, it's like, hey, you could use me to make, you know, no, it's like that. I want something tangible. Right. So, you know, how did I make that progression? Nothing's really changed. I'm still myself. I'm not in the green Jeep. Now I'm driving around in a 1971 VW van with my kids in the back, and I have parents rolling their eyes going, that's not safe. And I'm like, this is how I live, you know? Or throwing my kids in the wind.
That's the classic Chris Cantore.
That's my bus there, and my kids will be in the back, and, you know, we cruise. And you know, my wife says all the time, you know, yeah, your dad does some crazy stuff. Don't emulate your father, you know, because I do have behavioral things that I don't want to pass on, but it doesn't make me a bad person.
No, it doesn't.
I just want to stay true to myself and make sure my kids get to see my authentic self. Yeah. Because in a lot of cases, I think parents put on a front to their children. Then later in life, they're like, oh, my dad was a serious insert whatever adjective you want.
Chris, any designs on getting back into radio again here in San Diego or anywhere else, or are you 100%
That's a great question. Zero.
Really?
It would have to fall. Literally, the phone would have to ring. It's not going to be my doing. Going out and trying to make the opportunity happen. If the opportunity came to myself or came to me, I would absolutely entertain it and would think it was the most awesome thing ever and would be blessed with the opportunity. And
but in reality, you are in radio because the definition of radio has changed. Back when we all got into it, it was the little radio we had by our bed in the car. That's all the past. Today, radio is our phones. Radio is what you're doing. So in my opinion, you've never left.
I call it legacy media now, which is a term I learned from my friend Sean over at Cali Comfort Barbecue, which is like you asking me, would I get back into radio? It's like asking me, would I get back into legacy media?
Sure.
I would if there was a way to marry and connect what I'm doing now with a traditional or legacy platform.
And it's basically saying that new media is all media at this point.
All media. I don't even need new media. There's no new. There's nothing new about it.
Chris Cantore, you got to come back.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate you. Love what you're doing.
You, as usual, I love that people get to see that you're an entrepreneur as well as a radio.
What's that?
I love the fact that people get to hear that you're an entrepreneur.
You're a good man, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
You're a good man.
Chris Cantore, on the air. KUSI, on the air. Little Tommy, Russ T Nailz, and the rest.
Sharing the truth with the masses before we expire. We're spreading peace, love, and unity to everyone we meet. The fire's burning hot now, can you feel the heat? Traveling across the land, across the 7 seas. So when we die, we leave behind our legacy. What is your purpose? We're all searching. Up in the morning from my night to staying at a place. I rise up with the sunrise with a smile on my face. Hazy memories of what we did last night. But when I'm with her, I know that it's alright, alright. Well, I just wanna wake up and get baked with you. Eat breakfast in bed and chill out afternoon. Well, I know that today you got some things to do, but first I wanna love you again. So she give me loving in the morning time.
A million views.
A million views.
news on social media. And I can't get arrested out of San Diego.
Not yet. And I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from going.
Yeah, he doesn't want that. Can I give you a sound that's very familiar to our next guest? That's a news ticker, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Ted Garcia.
News ticker on speed.
I haven't heard one of those.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is that you and I have heard those just tells you how very old we are. Ted Garcia from News Radio 600 Kogo.
Yeah.
San Diego Morning News with Ted and LaDonna.
Good morning.
Hey, let me say this. Before you guys talk to Ted, I want to say this. We've had a lot of radio people here, a lot of television people here.
Yeah.
But you, Ted Garcia, you're like a real news person.
You're like the only legitimate person.
You're real. You're real.
Trying to figure that out.
You know,
there's a compliment right inside.
Well,
yeah, I guess so.
If you think in terms of the audience that listens to you every day, and the audience that would listen to a Cookie Chainsaw Randolph or even a Chris Cantore,
right?
It's a completely different ballgame, as you well know.
That is true. That is true. And I've been pretending to do this for 30 years.
Well,
now,
but wait a second,
pretending.
though. But you did television. In fact, here's a little bit of Ted Garcia's past here.
Come on, TV!
No, that's Mark. That's Mark Mathis. Did you start in TV?
Well, I started, it was, this is actually kind of a weird story. I don't know how much time you have. I woke up one day and I went to Pepperdine up in Malibu, and I'm like, okay, it's 2 days before graduation, I got to get a job.
Yeah.
And so I majored in telecommunications, and all I could do at that point was I knew TV news.
Yeah.
So I made a called the news director in Santa Barbara, and he said, I don't have anything, but I know somebody up in Yakima, Washington who has something. I called Yakima. The guy said, send me a tape. I sent a tape. He hired me.
Oh, great.
Like
Wow.
that.
That's weird.
Never happened.
Never happened.
So I go up to Yakima, and I'm like, oh, I can't live here.
Because it's really cold.
Because
and
it's cold.
There's apples,
and
that's
there's
it.
nothing there.
Yes.
And some lady I met at a diner said, oh, it's the meth capital of the world. You don't want to live here. So I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, seriously. So she's like, this is where people come to die. And I said, well, you know what? I met with the news director, and I said, I don't think I'm going to take this.
Oh.
And I didn't take it. And he said, you know what? I'm glad you told me now, because the last guy lasted a month.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I worked at Sharp Hospital in medical records because my mom's an RN and she worked there. I said, the next offer I get, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And it was Lawton, Oklahoma.
No kidding.
There you go.
Now,
What
how did you go, like, do you put resumes out back then, or how did you?
Back then?
Yeah.
Back then, you had 3/4-inch tapes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That were huge, bigger than VHS tapes, and you had to find them, dub them, and mail them. Okay, along with a resume.
what year was this?
91.
Wow.
You hope they had the machine and that it was queued up and ready to go.
And didn't
on
eat the tape.
It was
Right.
very difficult.
It was very difficult, and so to answer your question, that first, it was KSWO. They had a radio station and a TV station. The new guy, me, had to do half radio and half TV. So I'd go in at 3 in the morning and do the morning radio, put all the sound on, do reel to reel. Half the time I did it wrong and I'd get no sound. So I did 3 to 6, 3 to 7 at the radio station, and then 7 to 5 at the TV station.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was it news? Was it a news
all
station?
news.
All
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
So now, have you always been in news talk? Has there ever been a stint in music radio or a stint?
Well, you're
in
introducing
other TV?
Madonna records
Never.
or anything?
Never.
I almost interviewed Madonna once, though. So when I got into TV news, it turned into, that radio job went away, and then I just did the TV news track, and I went to Brownsville, Texas. Then I went to San Antonio. Then I came to San Diego at KFMB Channel 8.
I've always wondered this, because
I started
here, stayed here, and I realized that nobody else does.
It's rare.
How do you find the next gig, or does it find you?
It found me.
No
That
kidding.
went from Lawton, I stayed there a year. Some consultant somewhere saw me on a tape. He worked with the station in the Rio Grande Valley of Brownsville. They hired me. Yeah. They thought I was the weekend anchor in Lawton. I wasn't. So they made me the weekend anchor in Brownsville. I'm like, oh, yeah, I was the weekend anchor in Lawton. Yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah. All of a sudden, I became an anchor. Then I got an agent. So then the agent did the work. So then they got me San Antonio, then San Diego, then LA, and then back to San Antonio. It's been kind of a
How do you feel about agents? Because don't you have to give a percentage of everything?
Did you ever have an agent?
I never had an agent.
Did you ever have an agent?
Oh, yeah.
You did? I
Well,
never.
But is that accurate? Every check or whatever you make because they
Yeah, monthly. Yeah.
Isn't that's terrible?
Well, it's 5 to 10%. You negotiate it. So most agents take 10. Like LaDonna's paying 10.
Yeah.
LaDonna Harvey, my co-host.
let that-
I'm like, LaDonna,
Don't pay
no.
10. Yeah.
Don't ever do 10.
Well, you hear
right now
about-
I do like 4.
Wow.
Yeah, you hear about an agent, and then you've got your agent, your manager, your publicist. You know, as you start to
That's
get a
if you're
bigger
a big
name.
deal, yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Well, everyone would
somebody's
argue,
making-
though, that Ted Garcia is the voice of news, and you are a big deal. And I would assume, I would assume that you do have a publicist and everything.
Oh,
else. No, nothing, huh?
No. I don't even have a blue check mark next to my name on Twitter.
Me neither, though. So you know what? Tommy
know
does.
what?
Tommy does, though, because Tommy is
Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Twitter.
I used to obsess about that blue check mark.
Yeah.
And it turns out I just wasted a lot of tears and energy on
Baby girl,
nothing.
yes, you make us feel the best.
Ted Garcia. Stay right there.
I have a lot of questions.
So do I.
Okay.
And I haven't got to see my workmate. Every morning I'm with Ted Garcia. I haven't seen him in 6 months. Today is the first day I've seen. We hear, but we're eating something Ted.
Ted Garcia.
I wanna touch your sexy body, trace those tattoos on your skin. We'll be up dancing all night on fires and moonlight.
Hey, I'm producer Shelly from Jesse and Tati in the Morning on Star 94.1, and you're watching On the Air with Sully, Little Tommy, and Russ T Nailz.
I give thanks for this life that we're living, cause it could be gone in an instant. Days go by with the blink of an eye, so you don't take anything for granted. And I really wanna know where we go when we die, but I don't wanna keep asking. Cause I know the day you'll come around when I'm no longer alive, but for now we're just living.
Hey, that's Kyle Rising on Sensi Trails. And Rusty on the 5-gallon drum. There you go.
I'm at the horn.
Once again, hey Kyle, before we get out of here, what is your what's your Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff? Handle?
Yeah, so the band is called Sensi Trails. That's at Sensi Trails Music, and then my personal one is Kyle Rising.
All right, Kyle Rising is his real name, by the way. Can you believe that one?
That's a great
I want to know.
Wow.
I have a question
I want
for
to be
Ted.
Crash Davis.
All right.
You can look like
You got it,
Ted.
Crash.
Yeah.
Ted and Sully.
Yeah.
And Russ.
Yeah.
When I drive to work, I go to KUSI early in the morning, and I listen to you guys. I'm like one of your biggest fans. But I have a question because, you know, I grew up on the radio, and I was on a show, and we just talked, and hey, what's going on? What up, hey, blah, 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 blah. But you guys, right at 00, I'm Ted Garcia. Here are the headlines. Boom, boom, boom. LaDonna takes it from there.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's Sully, and then traffic on the 10s.
Right.
It's timed out.
Yeah, I don't even know how you guys do that.
How do you, it is precision. How do you time it out? Do you ever have a bad day where it's not timed out? Because you guys it's precision.
I'm obsessive about that.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that when I go fill up my car, it has to the price has to end on a 0 or a 5.
Mine can't leave.
And then all the bills in my wallet are in
order.
denomination.
The
and
hangers.
they have to be facing the same.
Hangers are all the same.
Yeah, because
So-
I have a lot of time to kill myself.
Now,
It's just like, well,
right, you know LaDonna. She's a hot mess, but we love her. So
I'm paying 10% to her agent. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm obsessive about the clock.
Yes.
Can I just?
LaDonna will be looking at makeup tutorials, and I'll be obsessive about the clock.
Yeah, but you're watching the clock, and you
But
guys.
she's great at what she does.
I have to say this because if you behind the scenes,
LaDonna.
because I get to watch the slow-moving train wreck sometimes. I haven't in 6 months, and because when you first got hired, I was talk radio in the afternoons,
Right.
and you came in news in the morning.
6 years ago,
when
yeah.
we never saw each other
Right,
at all.
right, that's true.
And then I sort of retired, or at least you tried to in this business, as you know, and then I started filling in. And what I got to see was exactly what I was listening to every morning.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Ted Garcia, LaDonna Harvey, throw to Marilyn Hyder, let's go to traffic. And it literally is like...
It's all balls in the air.
But here's the honestly, I still don't know how they do it. Well, all I know is that I've got to be somewhere at 51 and 21. That's all I know.
Well, I want to know how, because when I listen, it is amazing. It's a symphony. So, when you start at 5 a.m.,
right.
does that mean you have to get there at 3? Can you walk in at 4:55 and do it?
I could, but the boss would not be happy. We have prep time, so I get up at 2 in the morning.
No kidding.
And I'm at the station and I go through social media, I go through websites, I read everything, so I know I'm prepared when I go in.
Yeah.
And then we prep from 3 to 5, and then 5 we go on the air till 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So when that red light goes on and you hit that mic button, you know what you're saying. You know where it's going.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, but it's just like you guys. You've done it for so long.
We don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why we're just throwing stuff out there.
But I guess I've done news for so long that even if I didn't have the scripts, even if I didn't have the computer, I would be able to go ahead and vamp, until the next.
And I've seen it because, listen, there's slow news days.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen Ted and LaDonna in the studio where I got one lane and it's business and there's usually I can add money to anything.
You've got the fun job.
Honestly, I really do have the funnest job in the whole place because I get to talk about when there's a secret menu item. I can talk about alt meat stories. I get to talk about a new car. But I have seen you on the fly when we're coming back from a break in 45 seconds, having to find a story.
But that's where Lawton, Oklahoma comes in. That's where the Rio Grande Valley comes in. That's where, that's where you make all your mistakes. That's where you look like a fool. Not that I don't look like a fool sometimes, in bigger markets like San Diego, but I mean, that's your training.
I always like listening when the caller just starts breaking up and you're like, when are they going to go, this just sucks?
Well,
I don't want to. I have to start.
Tough call.
Yeah. Because they could come back just like that.
Exactly, and they do sometimes, and you just cut them off.
So if you started in 91, like you said, and it's 2020, you have covered historic events through the decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there something that comes to mind that you just go like, whoa?
Well, I was thinking about that here in San Diego. I was at KFMB not very long. I was there from 96 to 98. And in that time, I was thinking, wow, there was Andrew Cunanan, who was running around.
That's right.
And there was Heaven's Gate.
That's right.
And there was a huge fire, I think it was in the La Costa area, that I remember standing in a burning neighborhood. So there were 3 big things just from those 2 years that I remember. But of course, one of the weird memories is 9/11, because actually my mom and dad lived in Carmel Valley, and I was living in Studio City up in LA, and I was working at KTLA, and they called me and said, turn on the TV. I turned on the TV. And as soon as I saw what was happening, I called the station, and I'm like, do you need me to come in? And they're like, no, we're fine. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I came in at my normal time, and I left at my normal time that night. And I was like, you don't need me to, and they said, no, we're going to send you to the airport. And I'm like, great, the number one target on the West Coast, you're sending me to the airport.
And they're all closed.
And it looked like a studio backlot. There was no sound whatsoever at LAX.
Yeah. Wow.
It was creepy. It was bizarre, but man, I'll remember.
Well,
that
you
forever.
just said something that you just passed it by. KTLA, you were at KTLA. That's huge.
For 9 years.
That's a big.
We forgot that page in the resume.
Well, let's go back to that after the break.
Well, yeah, after the break. Also, what you don't know about Ted is he's been in a movie. Haven't you been in a movie or a TV movie? Or
50 movies and TV shows.
Yeah, 50
Wow.
movies and TV shows.
I still get the residuals.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. No, I mean, sometimes we get people that he interviews. He's like, I was in a movie like that. What?
Well, I want to know about that.
Like big name people. No, like I'm not talking like.
No, a major star fired me once.
Well, that's next.
The last time that you see him, because tomorrow is not guaranteed, but right now we're just living. I give thanks for this life that we're living, cause it could be gone in an instant. Days go by with the blink of an eye. Yeah. And we're not here for a long time, so we make the most of every day in this life. And sometimes the world be getting me down, but I know I'll be alright with my friends on the air around. Stay close to the ones you love. It'll be the last time that you see them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed, but for right now we're just living. I give thanks for this life that we're living, cause it could be gone in an instant. The days go by with the blink of an eye, so you don't take anything for granted. And I really wanna know if we go when we die, but I don't wanna keep past it, cause another day will come about and I'm no longer alive, but for now we're just living.
Hey man, will you come back and play with us sometime? I really wish you would.
I would love to.
And at Sensi Trails Music is the Instagram. And what's your personal Instagram again, Kyle?
Kyle Rising.
At Kyle Rising. In fact, that's my new name, by the way. Sully Rising.
All right.
Or Crash Davis.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Ted, before the break, you were talking about KTLA. That is a big television station.
What did you do there?
I was a reporter. And when I first got there, they had me fill in on their big morning show. You know, with Sam Rubin, Carlos Amezcua. You want some dirt?
Yeah.
Well, not
now. Not now.
Just write it down and hand it to me.
later.
Okay, all right. It's not his stuff. Does he pay 10% to his agent too?
Oh, no. Did you like the TV side more than you like the radio side?
No.
You like radio better?
I like both. I can say honestly, I like both of them equally. I mean, news is news.
Right. But you save money on clothing when you're in radio.
And makeup. Yeah.
Yeah.
But wait a minute. You're on in LA.
Yeah.
When you know that camera's on you and you see the red light in Los Angeles.
I don't think about it.
All right, but I was going to ask, is it a different feeling from when you were in?
No.
You know, really?
Nope.
Wow.
No. Because if you do that, you're going to psych yourself out and you're just going to be a blithering idiot. So if I think all of LA, Orange County, Ventura County, Riverside County is watching me right now, then I don't know if I could really function.
Yeah.
So it's just me. I'm talking to the camera.
Yeah.
They always tell you talk to the camera like it's your friend or a family member.
Right.
So my cameraman, I worked with him for 9 years. So I was talking to him.
Talking to the
telling
camera.
him news,
Talk to us about the movies. How many? You said 55 movies?
About 50.
50 movies.
Well, you've got one of those faces, almost a distant relative of a Brady. I mean,
he does look like Peter Brady.
It was always Donny Osmond.
Oh, God, what am I thinking?
I could go
it is Donny Osmond.
I met him and he said, "Yeah, you could be the black sheep." I'm like, thanks. I don't know what that means.
So how'd you get into movies?
Yeah.
My agent. And so the first thing that I booked was a show called The Profiler with Ali Walker on NBC. They said, we're going to send you sides. And I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
There's little portions of the script that they give you. And I went into it. I had no idea what I was doing. I went in, I read for a room full of suits. And I said, what happens now? And they said, you leave. So I left.
Like, thanks, we'll call you.
And then on the way home, they called me. Wow. And I got my first gig on my first audition.
As what type of a character?
Reporter.
Okay.
And then I got my SAG card. And so then I went on to do a bunch of things. I mean, I did The West Wing. I did 6 Feet Under.
Wow.
I did Days of Our Lives.
What were you doing?
I did Bruce Almighty. I did Zodiac.
Okay.
But as what?
As a reporter.
Oh, so it's always a reporter.
It was always, yes.
Oh, okay.
That's how I got fired.
Yeah.
Sandy Bullock fired me.
Wow, how?
Because it was a movie called All About Steve that nobody remembers with Bradley Cooper.
I remember.
Which I tricked Bradley Cooper into thinking he knew me because I loved Alias and I wanted to talk to him. And I said, hey, Bradley, Ted Garcia, I think I've met you on the red carpet. I'm with KTLA. Never met him before.
Yeah, right. But still.
Oh my God, great to see you, bro. How you been? You know, I'm like, I just fooled this guy. So Sandra, I was a scene where I was supposed to see a baby coming out of a well. And I was supposed to be like, and react and do all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not an actor, I don't act. And she goes, well, she was getting annoyed with me. And I said, can't you just act like a newscaster who's acting like they're seeing a baby coming out of the well? And I'm like, again, you're asking me to act, and it's gonna look kind of strange. And so I did it over and over. It was awful. Right. It was awful. Wow. So she's like, yeah, thanks. And
Let's try a little here. Here comes a baby. And your reaction is?
I'm like, that was classic. Sandra, we would never do that, first of all. It's not realistic. No. And so I think I made her mad. And then next thing I knew, they called and said, yeah, you've been replaced by a weather girl at one of the other stations.
Fine. And
I still got paid.
Yeah, that's good.
That's that SAG card working for you.
So with COVID, it's interesting because I didn't even know what it looked like in the studio because Ted and I haven't seen each other for 6 months. And it was an everyday thing. So what does it look like inside of a news studio these days? Because in the past, you'd have, we obviously have a lot of radio stations in there, such like that. Right. But there's a lot of moving parts to that morning show. What's it look like now? Well,
I mean, you've seen our space. There's lots of open, it's a big open newsroom. So now there's plexiglass around every cubicle. Mm-hmm. There's hand sanitizer everywhere. Yeah. There are signs everywhere saying, please use this, clean this.
Are you guys in the same studio now?
We are in the same studio.
Because you weren't for a while,
For a while, we were having to get, with news, it's very difficult because we add stories, we drop stories, we move stories. And so LaDonna and I we were in separate studios, so we'd have to keep the doors open and literally scream at each other. Yeah. Saying, the next story's dead. And so then, you know, and it was horrible.
LaDonna's good at that.
Well, she's great at it. Yeah, I was losing my voice.
We got to get her in here. You know, we have asked her in here.
Yes.
And we got to get her in.
Her laugh is the best.
I'm going to shame her because she's like, I don't have any time to go all the way up there. I'm like, hey,
I'll take her. I'll go get her. Wait a minute. I will Uber her.
So is there a rhythm? Do you guys feel each other? Can you guys finish each other's sentence?
Now we can.
Yeah. Really?
After 6 years, absolutely. And I knew that from the beginning it would be good because I was in San Antonio working, and we had to do the audition. I was in San Antonio, she was in San Diego, and I could just tell by the way we worked on the phone it would be.
Well, it obviously works, dude. So good to see you, first of all. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ted Garcia, Not Morning News, News Radio 600 Chicago.
Not acting.
Not an actor. That's on his business card, by the way. All right, we'll see you next week.
Noses red from all the coldness, the letters and the roses that I gave to you when we were standing there in the snow. But it doesn't matter, no, the seasons change all the time. And even though they're changing, it don't change how I feel inside. But it doesn't matter, no, the seasons change all the time. And even though they're changing, it don't change how I feel inside. I spring forward